Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome. It's one of the coldest days in our town, and we've got a really good crowd here tonight. It is Tuesday, February 19th, and we're certainly pleased to have everybody here. We'll start our meeting with a roll call of your city council.
Council members Karski.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Staggers.
Present.
Aguilar.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Entenmann. Erpenbach. Here. Jameson.
Here.
Well, thank you very much. We start our meeting, as we always do, with an invocation. Leading us with that blessing tonight is Father Stephen Jones with Christ the King Catholic Church here in Sioux Falls. Father Jones, welcome. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
And after Father Stephen leads us in prayer, we'd ask you to remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Father Stephen, welcome.
Lord, as we prepare to begin our meeting, we recall your promise to be present when two or three are gathered in your name. We know that without you here among us and within each one of us, we will labor in vain. Unite us, Lord, in your Spirit. We rejoice that we are blessed and called together to work in your name. We pray that we will respond generously to this opportunity to serve you, and that we will grow in our Christian calling. Unite us, Lord, in your Spirit. Inspire us with the spirit of wisdom. Plant seeds of your vision in our hearts and minds. Give us humor and give us humility in our working with one another, so that we may know the privilege of participating in the coming about of your kingdom. Unite us, Lord, in your Spirit. We ask that working together will increase the communion among us as members of your body on earth. May the communion we experience give us new courage in all that we do for you. Unite us, Lord, in your Spirit. Grant us the willingness to be open to each other, to respect each other, to listen to each other, to be honest with each other, to be supportive of each other for the sake of your kingdom. Unite us, Lord, in your Spirit. Lord, it is our hope that the true business of this meeting will be our spiritual transformation and the transformation of others through us, and not simply the accomplishment of tasks and projects. We ask this of you as we now begin. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, Council will now continue with our consent agenda. Any changes to tonight's consent agenda?
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to approve our consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Karski. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erpenbach. Yes. Jameson.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. We'll move on to our regular agenda. Council, any changes at all?
Move for approval, Anderson. Second, Jameson.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve our agenda for tonight's meeting, seconded by Councilor Jameson. If there are no changes, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erpenbach. Yes. Jameson.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Folks, welcome. Nice to have you here. Before we go to public input, I do want to introduce some of the members in the crowd. We do have Boy Scout Troop 46. They are working on their Citizenship Merit Badge, along with their first class rank. If we could have the Boy Scout Troop 46, if you could stand along with your leaders, we'd like to welcome you. Welcome. Well, now we want to see if any of you actually want to speak to the council. It is an opportunity if anybody in the audience wants to come forward. We would allow you up to 5 minutes to engage the council. All we'd ask in return just introduce yourself to the people of our town. Welcome. Greg?
Hi, Greg Neitzer, Sioux Falls. I'm not here to talk about Shea Places tonight. I think I'll give you a break on that one. What I do want to talk about is item number 26 on the agenda. It's the first reading. It has to do with public sewers. I was reading that over this weekend, and I want to read a sentence to you. If a storm drain or sump pump collection system exists or is constructed adjacent to the property owner shall be charged a permit fee and connect the sump pump or building subdrains to the storm sewer system. I live on the west side of Sioux Falls in the Westridge 2 Addition, a couple blocks away from the area you just annexed. Our houses were built from 2008 up until now. The block is just finishing up. We do have a sump pump collection system that runs through the neighborhood, as I think everything after 2005 or 2008 does. For whatever reason, the original builders, developers didn't connect us. And I guess I'm going to be curious, as if this were to be adopted as is, are we going to start getting, a notice of violation letter telling us that we must connect? I've talked to engineering before, and I believe they have records of who's connected and what areas have these systems. If somebody is in violation and they're discharging into, onto a neighbor's lot or doing something, I have no problem with that being rectified. I'm just not sure about if I can discharge the water fine. Suddenly telling me that we have to get connected. I've thought about doing it at one point, but it's a little bit more difficult once an area, once your house has been developed. I'm going to have to rip up, trench all the way through, go past sprinkler lines and utilities and things like that. So that line, I guess, just raised some red flags. So it's something to think about. Thank you.
Greg, thank you. And we will have a first reading tonight later on. And Chad, I know you were listening to Greg, and I appreciate that. And hopefully he can help answer your questions. And Greg, too, I wanted to relay to you that you are such a city hall or a city government guy. And you're always watching the ins and outs, and you always have the ability to also call Public Works or anybody to get even more educated. But thanks for your interest. We appreciate it. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on any topic at all? Well, again, welcome. We certainly appreciate you being here on such a cold, blustery day. Let's move on to item number 16.
Item 16 is a new 2012-2013 retail malt beverage license for Paul Saxton Bog Trotters Pub, Grub and Tap to be operated at 201 East 11th Street with a conditional use permit being approved on January 9, 2013, pending final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. 17 is a new 2013 retail wine license for Dollar Bills Casino, Inc., Dollar Bills Casino, to be operated at 4920 North Cliff Avenue with conditional use permit being approved on November 18, 1996. 18 is transfer of a 2012-13 retail malt beverage license from Lucky Bucks Casino, Inc., Lucky Bucks Casino to MG Oil Company, Happy Jack Sioux Falls 3, to be operated at 3705 Southwestern Avenue, CUP not required. 19, transfer of a 2013 package liquor license from Renco, Amico Food Shop, to JKB Enterprises LLC, J&K Quick Stop, to be operated at 1200 East 10th Street, CUP not required. Item 20, transfer of a 2013 retail liquor license from Cash In on Benson, Inc., Cash In 2, to Brett Erickson, Happy Jack Sioux Falls 4, to be operated at 1211 East Benson Road with a conditional use permit being approved on February 1, 2006. Item 21, special one-day wine license request from Good Shepherd Ministry Center, Inc., to be operated at the Avera Prairie Center, 1000 East 23rd Street for a fundraiser on May 7, 2013. Item 22, special one-day malt beverage and one-day wine licenses for the Sioux Falls Jazz and Blues Society to be operated at Vernite Acura, 4030 South Grange Avenue for a fundraiser on June 20, 2013. And item 23, special one-day malt beverage and one-day wine licenses for the Sioux Falls Jazz and Blues Society to be operated at Yankton Trail Park, 3901 South Minnesota Avenue for the Jazz Fest on July 18 to 20, 2013.
Jamie, welcome.
Good evening. Jamie Palmer, licensing specialist. Item 16 is a new Irish pub and grill They are requesting a retail malt beverage license. The sole owner is listed as Paul Saxton. Item 17 is a request. The gentleman, or the applicant, had several requests from his customers to add wine, and so that is the request for retail wine. Items 18, 19, and 20 are current licenses requesting transfers of ownership. Items 21 and 22 are 2 special one-days for some fundraisers, and item 23 is for the annual Jazz Fest held in July.
Jamie, thank you. Summer's coming.
Yes.
Council, any comments or motions?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve these items, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. If there are no questions or comments, we could have a roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing. Yes. Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Thank you. That has passed 7-0. Item 24.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending Section 32.022 of Chapter 32, City Organizations, to reflect the updated title of Internal Audit Manager.
Rich Oaksel, Internal Audit. We've already had the first reading on this. It changes my job title and also deletes the reference of a reporting relationship from myself to the city clerk. This has gone through the audit committee.
Rich, thank you. This is a second reading. If anybody in the audience wanted to speak to this, you are certainly welcome to do so. Very good. Council.
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to approve item 24, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Thank you. That has passed 7-0. Item 25.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations, parks and recreation in the amount of $39,518.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. Tonight, we're requesting a supplemental appropriation in the dollar amount that we received from the Jim and Eloise Family Foundation at the end of 2012. The gift was provided after a conversation with Richard Ellman, who is the son of Jim Ellman, who really wanted to, or who was an avid cyclist and used our bike trail system extensively. And so Richard wanted to provide yet another gift to our trail system in memory of his father. If you remember the new Ellman Park trailhead that went in along West 12th Street in the Big Sioux River, they were responsible for funding that project. And essentially what the project would consist of is what we call a station point along the trail system. It would provide a shaded area or an arbor type structure of sorts. It would provide benches, it would provide seating areas, and also provide wayfinding information so that people can stop and find out where they're at on the trail system, where the next destination may be, whatever it might be. So Richard was very excited about the opportunity to again memorialize his father with a small plaque on that structure. And so essentially what that would allow us to do through the supplemental appropriation is to go ahead and actually construct that yet this year. The location is essentially south of the Olive Garden on the east side of the river, just south of 41st Street and between 41st and 49th Street. And so staff would recommend approval, and we're going to also try to get Richard here at second reading to acknowledge him for his contribution as well. So take any questions.
Council? Yes, Councilor Karski.
Quick question, Don. My office is real close to that location, and the bike trail is really elevated on that side, and it's quite a drop and a big wetland back there. How's that going to look when we're done?
Yeah, that's a great point. It is elevated, but there's actually a spot that exists there already where there's a current bench and a pad. And so it's actually a bump out, as we'd call it, adjacent to the levee itself. And so in talking with Chad and his team in engineering, we believe we'll be able to construct it on that site. It's not very big. It's probably like an 8 by 10 area where people will be able to have place to sit, wayfinding information, shade, that kind of thing. So there's an existing area that's already built out that we'll just use for that location.
Thank you.
You bet.
Council, would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 5th for this item?
So move Karski.
Rolfing seconds.
Council Karski, thank you, and Council Rolfing, thank you as well. There's been a motion to approve. It has been seconded. All those in favor, or I'm sorry, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Thank you. That has passed 7-0. Item 26.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 53, Publicly Owned Treatment Works, Section 53.023, Regulation of Use of Public Sewers.
Good evening, Chad Heavey with the Engineering Division of Public Works. Like Greg introduced this topic tonight, it is about nuisance sump pump water. And when I talk about nuisance, I'm going to talk about things like it creates ice on city streets, alleys, and sidewalks, as the picture depicts. It damages a city street or it damages a city sidewalk. It creates ponds of standing water or algae, or it flows over adjoining property. The current ordinance requires these nuisance pumpers to connect to a sump pump collection system if there is a system adjacent to their property and the structure was constructed in 2005 or after. However, structures constructed prior to 2005 are exempted. And since the time this ordinance was adopted, we have begun a retrofit program where we go into old areas of town and install sump pump collection systems. And these are typically in the front boulevard area between the curb and gutter and the sidewalk. And so the proposed revisions tonight will remove that exemption regarding 2005, and it will require all nuisance pumpers to connect to a collection system if there is one next to their property. This ordinance was presented and approved by the Infrastructure Review and Advisory Board. And to now to answer a couple questions or make some comments on what Greg had said, this doesn't happen very often where we run into these situations, but there are times, as you can see through these pictures, where there is a true nuisance. And it usually starts with a complaint from neighbors that are walking through puddles of water every day, or you have the frozen condition. We don't just turn around then and send the issue. We try to work with the property owner. Often they are, something happens, their line gets kind of pushed or directed towards their neighbor's lawn. And now the neighbor's lawn is all wet. We go out, say, hey, maybe the landscape guy moved this, let's just get it back on your property, and then there is no issue. But there are times when it gets to a point where we've invested the money to put the system in, and they just feel they don't have to connect. So this will give us the authority to have them connect. And we go through the code enforcement issue, so they get a violation, there's a period of time, they get another violation, and then finally they're required to connect in.
Council, this is a first reading. Councilor Staggers.
So the purpose of this ordinance is what? Because you said ultimately they have to hook up.
The current ordinance says they only have to hook in if their structure was constructed in 2005 or after. So what we're proposing is we take that exemption out. Yeah. So if we go into a residence that was built in 75, we have the authority to have them connect.
And also, too, can you tell me how much the city spends to put a system in?
We have, every year we have $300,000, and that is split between, we reimburse the new developments where this system goes in. So the developer puts this sump pump collection system in. Typically now it's always in the backyard. The city reimburses them for that cost. And then we use the remaining dollars to put the sump pump collections, the retrofits in. So it's $300,000 every year. Now, a few years ago when there wasn't a lot of development going on, we could knock out, 3 or 4 of these retrofit areas a year. But, like There was a lot of development last year, so I anticipate that we'll be able to do maybe one project. And those projects, you know, can vary from $50,000 to $75,000. So that's how we operate the program. And I will say that the retrofit is done on a petition basis. So it's the neighborhoods that have this nuisance water. They submit a petition. We rank them, prioritize them, and that's how we decide where we go each year.
Councilor Aguilar.
Cost to the homeowner to connect?
The permit, I believe, is $15, and then it's probably going to depend on where their sump pump line, if it comes out their back and they have to, you know, put it underground to the front, it could be up to $1,000. If it comes out the side or the front, it could be as little as $500. We put our systems in, we directional drill it, so we do very little disturbance to the soil, and typically they can do that also.
Thank you.
Councilor Jameson.
Chad, what if, you know, the guy's figured out he's got a nuisance? You know, he can tell, the homeowner can tell because of the way what it's doing. And he corrects it in a different way, like puts it down in the sewer in the basement, and then now it's gone. The problem's gone. That's one way, but I mean, and then the other would be what if he put a storage tank? With the cost of water the way it is, it's crazy that these houses pump water out of their basements and then buy water from the city to water their yard. If a guy pumped that water into a tank of some sort, either way solved the problem and it went away, would you still come after him to make him?
No, I think we'd be open to your second example. Your first example would be,
right, I know.
We wouldn't encourage that, and that's part of why we have the sump pump collection systems
Right.
now. But no, as long as he was properly eliminating that nuisance, I think we'd be in support of
Okay, good.
looking at alternatives they may come up with.
Right, thanks.
Council, would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 5th for this item?
So move, Anderson.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made that motion, seconded by Councilor Karski. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erpenbach. Yes. Jameson.
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Thank you. Item 27.
First reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a major amendment, petition number 2013-0102 to Section 160.446 Plan Development Districts at East 57th Street between South Bonson Avenue and South Greystone Avenue, allowing changes in land use as reflected in the revised Subarea B regulations and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls.
Mike?
Good evening. I'm Mike Cooper, representing Planning and Building Services. This is a petition submitted by Scott Gilbert. This is part of the Whispering Woods development. This particular area is located on the south side of East 57th Street, and it would be east of the future extension of Bonson Avenue, and it would extend over to a future street that will be called Greystone Avenue. This area consists of about 11.5 acres. When the zoning was originally approved, the developer requested approval to construct multifamily apartments on this area. With a change in the housing market, he is now asking to change that land use to allow twin homes to be developed on this property. To the west is land that's still outside the city limits. It's agriculturally used, but we expect that that will eventually be residential. To the south, if we go back to the aerial photo, you can see that there are existing twin homes starting to develop. And then on the east, we have wetlands, and then that's bordered by future multifamily and office land use development. So this would be compatible with other surrounding development, and the recommendation is to approve this major amendment. And tonight is just the first reading.
Yes, Councilor Rolfing.
I move approval.
Thank you.
Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 5th, and it was seconded by Councilor Aguilar. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Item 28.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Section 157 of the subdivision ordinance. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Good evening. In December, you approved an ordinance that requires securitizing public improvements not complete at the time of plating. And at that time, there were two instances that we did not address, and those are dual frontage lots and half streets. So on the screen, I have an example of a dual frontage lot. You can see the houses on Justice Street. They face Justice Street, and they have a road in front of their house, but 22nd Street is behind their house, so that's where we get the dual frontage lots. And then another example is what we call a half street, and up here is an example of that. You can see where the future 33rd Street will be, and north of that is owned by one property owner, and the south half of that is owned by a different property owner. And typically these situations are located on property lines, and the developer typically only owns half of that right-of-way, and the other half has to come from an adjacent property owner. And the real issue arises is when those property owners don't have the same construction time frame in mind. And I'll just give you an example here with the dual frontage lots. Justice Street was built in 2003, and 22nd Street wasn't built till 2007. But the same developer is responsible for Justice Street. He's also responsible to build half of 22nd. So then the question comes, how do you securitize 22nd Street when it could be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road? And so that's what took us some time to work through with the development community, the same group that we talked about for the new subdivision construction agreement. And so the proposed revisions to the subdivision ordinance will now require securitization of these half streets and these half right-of-ways. These proposed changes were developed by a subcommittee of IRAB, were then taken to the full IRAB and approved, and then were presented at the Planning Commission, and they also approved the changes. And I'll say this, we've developed a policy letter, and we have several of these internally, and that's what took time here to kind of put some general language in place of how we're going to handle these. The city's going to facilitate meetings between like the property owner on the north side, the property on the south side. Securitizing these with a typical performance bond may not work if the work's not going to get done for 4 or 5 years. So those are some of the things we also talked about. We'll require the securitization for a period of 5 years, and after that 5-year period, we will look at the street. Is the street going to stay there? Is it going to change? Is it going to be moved? So that's kind of the policy, just talks about some general practices that we will follow to try to facilitate when the street will get built, who will build it, where it'll go. So tonight is the first reading of those proposed changes to the subdivision ordinance.
Well, Council, thank you. Would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 5th?
So move, Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
And that has passed 7-0. Thank you. Item 29.
A resolution vacating the public right-of-way on West Broke Drive from West 32nd Street to South Kiera Court, as shown on the attached exhibit.
This right-of-way is just west of the Family Wellness Center on the west side of Ellis Road. The petition was submitted by John Brook of Equity Homes. If vacated, a utility easement will be maintained. Due to design changes in the subdivision, the vacated right-of-way plant will be used for drainage way and residential lots. And I know there was a question last time on how traffic would function without that stretch of road. One thing I do want to highlight is that this fall, Lancaster Drive, which is the southern part of this subdivision, was constructed over to Ellis Road. And so now there is 2 good access points to get in and out of this subdivision, one being West 32nd Street, the other being Lancaster. And in the future, there will be a road that goes to the west and then north and south that'll connect 26th Street to 41st Street. So we also had some concerns when Lancaster wasn't in, but now that it's built, we feel that traffic will flow very well out here.
Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Council?
Move approval, Karski.
Second, Jameson.
Councilor Karski has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Jameson. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Council members Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Erpenbach, yes, Jameson.
Yes.
That has passed 7-0. Thank you. Item 30.
A resolution vacating the public right-of-way on the west 20 feet of West Broke Drive adjacent to lots 1A through 6A and lot 14A Block 11 and lots 15 and 16 Block 12, all of Westwood Valley Addition, as shown on the attached exhibit.
This right-of-way is also west and south of the Family Wellness Center. It was also submitted by John Brook of Equity Homes. If vacated, a utility easement will not be maintained. Through the design change process, this street has been reclassified from a collector down to a local street, and thus the right-of-way requirements have went from 80 feet down to 60. And so the resolution will vacate this 20 feet and allow him to use that vacated land for his residential lots.
Anybody in the audience want to speak to this? Very good. Council?
Move to approve.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Jameson's made a motion to approve this. It has been seconded by Councilor Karski. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
That has passed 7-0. Thank you. Item 31.
A resolution adopting the internal audit charter for the city as amended.
Again, Rich Oaksall, Internal Audit. This internal audit charter was originally developed in 2006 by the very first audit committee. It established our office, indicated what our scope of work was, our independence, our authority, et cetera. This is the first time it's been amended, and basically it was to reflect my new job title and delete the reporting relationship from my office to the city clerk. And this has gone through the audit committee. So,
Thanks, Rich. Sure no one wants to speak to this item. Good. Council, any thoughts or motions?
Move to approve.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Jameson, thank you, and Councilor Anderson Jr., thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
All right, council members Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
That has passed 7-0. Thank you. Item 32.
All right. 32 is a resolution including certain contiguous territory within the corporate limits of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, annexation 2012-1205, West 12th Street and North Ellis Road.
Tonight, we have a petition requesting annexation of approximately 200 acres of land area. The property owner is currently Soak-Up Construction, and they are teaming up with Van Busker Companies to work on a future mixed-use development. This particular property is on the north side of West 12th Street and extends on either side of the Ellis Road. On the northern boundary, it has an odd shape, and that's what we're calling Cherry Creek. This will include a private lake or pond, as well as mixed-use development. This particular exhibit shows the proximity to the current city limits, which is the gray area on the east side of Ellis Road. This, as I said, is a proposed mixed-use development, and this annexation area is within what we call Tier 1, which means that we've identified that we can provide utility services to this area as requested by the developer. And then the other exhibit is a very preliminary concept of what the mixed-use development would look like. This will probably be, we hope, one of the first new developments that we will look at with our new Shape Places zoning ordinance. On the corner of Ellis Road and 12th Street would be the mixed-use development of commercial, office, and then it would extend to the west with lower density residential, and then on the north side is the private lake or pond. It will have the road system as well as a trail system. This is also in conformance with our comprehensive plan, our 2035 plan, which shows a regional, sub-regional employment node at the corner of 12th and Ellis Road. So this will be a development that is in conformance with our long-range plans, and we will be going through zoning, subdivision, and other reviews with you as this moves forward for development. Staff is recommending approval of the annexation because it is in that Tier 1 service area, and we do have the ability to provide adequate infrastructure to this property.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Sir, welcome. Come on forward. Thanks for being here.
Moving along here. Mike Van Buskirk here to represent the subdivision. If there's any questions, I'm free to answer. We're excited to be working with the Shape Sioux Falls process that was designed with that in mind. As he said, preliminary. Pretty excited about the lake aspect, and of course the city fishing is out there in a well-used area, the new fire department, and the rest. So, any questions?
Thank you very much. Council, any questions of, yes, Councilor Staggers.
Yes, it's mixed development. Can you explain what's going to be in the mixed development? Commercial and everything, or what?
Right. The initially, where this one's at, initially what we anticipate happening is the residential to the west section. Mm-hmm. The rooftops are wanted before the retail comes, and the mixed use simply refers to there's some open areas designed in there. The intention is to really start integrating the living with the office, with the retail. You know, you don't just get to pick the services that come, but I think if you develop that kind of area, kind of like we've done with the Bridges area and different areas around Sioux Falls, I think you'll find that mix works really well. You know, the idea to encourage pedestrian, I think it's particularly apropos here with the lake being there and anticipated bike paths and that sort of thing around there. So it's built to have the flexibility to bring it in, but at that kind of corner, we'll definitely see some retail out there, the office along with it, and there are an awful lot of people that like to live just with that. You know, like we see on the south end of town where you'll see apartments just over retail and that sort of thing. That's what we envision happening. I think the nice thing about this is it gives us the flexibility to, as it comes, kind of build the right thing to accommodate what we can find to go out there. So.
Council, any thoughts?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. If there are no further questions or comments, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Item 33.
This is a resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of members to certain citizen boards, and this is for Rick Kiley to the Falls Community Health Center Governing Board.
Council, would anybody want to approve this?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Box made that motion, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. Thank you. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Great job. Well, Cub Scouts, thank you. You did a great job tonight. Hope you learned something. If there is no further discussion, would we get a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved, Rolfing. Second, Anderson.
Councilor Rolfing's made that motion. It has been seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Sioux Falls. Make it a great evening.